Welcome everyone, and to our inaugural All Hands Algorand Foundation community call. My name is Joanna Moran. I'm the European Community Lead for the Foundation, and I'll be moderating today's session. We also have community leads in Asia, who's summer, and in the Americas, autumn, and they will be moderating some future All Hands community calls. This session's topic will have a full focus on governance, on the Algorand community governance. What you'll be learning today is around governance proposal and what's been proposed, about governors rewards, and the mechanics around governance. Speaking on these topics is Sean Lee, our CEO for the Algorand Foundation. Welcome, Sean, and Massimo Mornini also. He's the Algorand Foundation Chief Economist. They'll be speaking for approximately 20 to 30 minutes, and after that, there'll be an opportunity to answer questions that you, the community, have submitted to us over the last couple of weeks. So thank you for that. A little bit about our community. We're delighted about how our community has grown since 2019. We are engaging with approximately 250,000 people since 2019, which is phenomenal. And most importantly, we could not have done this without all of you. We plan to do all hands community calls in the future, and they'll be surrounded by a certain topic, which this one is about governance. We've chosen Livestorm as our platform to do this, as it's accessible to all mobile and desktop users. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Sean, who'll kick us off from here. Welcome, Sean.
Great, thank you. Thank you. All right, so let me expand the screen here. So first of all, I'd like to welcome all of you for joining our All Hands. As Joanna said, this is quite an event for us in regards to having all of you joining in into this very important juncture within the Algorand Foundation's life cycle, but also more importantly, into our continuous desire and aspirations to go into community governance. Now, before I kick off into talking about the governance program by itself, I want to spend a few minutes talking about what we have been doing at the foundation, what we stand for, and also the reason why we're kicking off the governance program now. So if you really look across the Algorand ecosystem, ever since day one when we have launched in mainnet, we have been operating under three foundational pillars. We look at having a very strong token economics as an area where we want to use to establish an ecosystem and around the various different economic design, balancing the supply and demand, and really having that support for the Algorand community. Massimo is going to talk a little bit more about the mechanics around it, specifically to the governance program itself. But token economics is core to what we do within the foundation. We also talk about ecosystem development, and I'm sure many of you have been following our various different channels in regards to the partnerships that we've been making over the last 18 to 24 months, as well as a lot of the advanced research agendas that we've been publishing from our team and in collaboration with other leading institutions as well. So ecosystem development continues to be one of the core pillars of what we do. And then when we talk about governance, which is obviously the main topic for today, one of the things that we've been really focusing on is that governance is about internal governance in terms of how we run the foundation, and we want to make that process as transparent and open as possible. But at the same time, we also wanted to make sure that the activities and the various different programs that we're running are also able to have that governance aspect, especially from a community perspective as well. And that's really what we've been really focusing on, trying to bring these pillars together around token economics, around governance, around ecosystem development, because that is the guiding principle towards what we're going to be doing from now in the future, and then moving forwards, along with all of you as well. So I wanted to at least highlight the foundational pillars of what we do. Now, layer on top of that, though, we normally work under 4 dimensions. If you kind of look at it that way. If I were to start on the top right-hand side, starting with the community aspect, and obviously this is where all of you comes in. The idea here is, when we're looking at building out the community, there are various different constituents and user groups that we're working with, whether you are within the token communities or you're developers and you're looking to build on Algorand, whether you have a technology and applications that you're looking to leverage the capabilities and the various different synergies that may be created along with other partners within our ecosystem as well. The core of what we're trying to drive towards community building is less about the number of participants within the community. Obviously, that's very important to us. And obviously, having almost 1,000 of you, on this live stream registered for this event is, it's a blessing to us, and really thank you all of you for doing that. But more important to the quantity of the community members, what we're really looking to drive is that networking effect, right? And we're already seeing a lot of our ecosystem partners coming in and identifying various different pieces that other partners within the ecosystem are building, and where they can really combine that together to create that platform, that applications, and that network that they want to build. So networking effect is really what we're trying to drive towards between that on that community dimension. Now, of course, with the community and with all of the participants driving the activities, that's really where we want to then look at the type of actually on-chain activities that are being incurred. And we call those economic activities, right? Because activities shouldn't just be things that are moving around. It actually should have some meaning. That meaning needs to carry a lot of what we as a project really stand for, this borderless economy, lessening the friction around various different transactional activities. To us, driving significant economic activities is quite important. That includes the various market participants that we're working with, along with the various different projects that are building on Algorand and increasing the level of activities that are actually creating on chain as well. So that becomes also a very important dimension in terms of the projects that we're running. Now, with that, one of the dimensions that we predominantly want to focus on is also the diversity of the groups that we're working with, the applications that we're working with, and then also the various different industries and sectors that we can be tapping into as well. And that really leave us with an open and inclusive kind of environments that we want to encourage. So in here, we've been working with a number of various different ecosystem partners, whether they're in the DeFi space or in the NFT space. Those of you probably have been following us in that regard as well. What we're really trying to drive here is the Algorand blockchain is really good for a lot of various different type of use cases. So we don't want to have too narrow of a focus in terms of the type of things that are happening on the blockchain, but rather we want the diversity, also from a global geographical coverage as well. And that's a lot of the activities that we're driving, as you can see from some of the accelerators that we've been running, and also some of the hackathons and developer competitions that we've been running in that regard also. The final dimension that we have is the platform dimension. And obviously, as a blockchain project, having the core technology, being able to provide the type of capabilities that our community partner wants to build and continue to enhance upon is very, very important to us. This is a very fast-moving space. There are new innovations coming from all corners of the industry. And this is something that we're continuing to work with our partners, including the Algorand Inc. to build out those capabilities. But then more importantly, looking further out in terms of some of the research advanced research that needs to come into it as well, because this is going to be a long-term evolution in terms of how blockchain technology and crypto capabilities are going to be leaning towards and really changing the world that we live in today. So those are the 4 dimensions that encapsulates the 3 pillars that I shared with you earlier. And essentially using this almost as a turning wheel, this is really what we call ourselves internally our mission wheel, right? So if you think about the type of work that we're doing, a lot of the announcements that we've been making over the last few months, it really surrounds the type of things that we're doing in the communities, driving in the markets, bringing various different use cases online, and then continuing to work on the research agenda continuing to work on the advanced development capabilities so that we can really round out the type of environments that we want to build. What's the objective of it, right? The objective is really encapsulated, if you look at the slides, in the green circle on the outside. We are a public chain. We are open source projects, and we want to bring as much transparency to this entire process, both internally within the foundation, but also within the community as well. Our goal is the same as what we have set out to do on day one: building a borderless economy, enabling as many participants to work to work with us and to be able to create these innovations that really drive things like financial inclusion, social impact. Those are near and dear to our heart, and those are all of the things that we want to continue to work with all of you on. So with that, hopefully that gives you a quick insight into what guides us in terms of what we do every day. And if we certainly welcome any questions that may be coming later on, and of course any feedback that you have, and how continuing to help us shape the Algorand Foundations on what we're going to be working on the ecosystem programs, but also the longer term goals as well. Now, that gives us a very good section into diving into governance a little bit more. Because if you look at an open, a public project like ours, having the proper governance, both in terms of how we look at the internal processes, but also how we involved heavily on the community to help us and guide us and give us those feedbacks in terms of how the platform needs to run, is all equally as important. So if you think about governance, there's sometimes there's a timing for everything, right? So some of you might be wondering, why now? Why are we looking so heavily into driving this community governance program at this moment in time? Well, the easy answer to that is we have matured tremendously over the last 2 years, or year and a half, coming to 2 years now, coming up in June. So we have matured tremendously as an ecosystem. If you're following our circulating supply on various Block Explorer, you'll notice that we have now passed roughly 50% being in circulating. So that means we have enough participant in the community where we can really drive a meaningful voice. What we really want to do then is take a lot of the decision-making process, especially around the funding into the ecosystems, and really work with the community, right? So rather than the foundation looking at it and deciding and managing how those are being done, we really want to work with the community to share with you the type of proposals that we're seeing, the directions that we're going into, the various different distribution in terms of the various different goals and programs that we're driving into. And we want to solicit for your feedback and your decision to help us really guide the ecosystem development together. And that's really the genesis of why we're doing this community governance program now. Timing is everything. And I think we've come to a point where this is the right time, this is the right type of program. And I also wanted to make sure that when we talk about governance, when we Massimo and Shai and I, we spend a lot of time thinking and really investigating what other projects have done as well. What I wanted to make sure the community here can appreciate is that we wanted this to be real, true governance, right? This is governance around a very important aspect of what the foundation is doing, which is around the ecosystem funding. This is not us creating a governance token, thereby creating another asset that will have a completely different meaning. For us, going down that path is not something we're looking into. What we really want to do is actually opening up the doors, opening up the decision-making process, and also in terms of the token supply, so that we can all decide on that together. So that's a little bit about the kind of our thinking and how we got to the proposal and also the paper that's been published over the last week or so. I'm going to go over a few more data points here before I pass it over to Massimo to talk about the economics and the reward aspects of the program itself. So the program here is, as I mentioned, the goal is to really to entrust the future of the Algorand ecosystem to the community. We are now actually, some of the community questions that have been sent in ahead of time, we are actually looking for all Algorand users to become governors, given the right context and obviously given the willingness to do so. So there's no restrictions in terms of whether one can participate or not. We actually welcome all to participate, understand some of the criteria to do so, and actually be willing to participate into this very important decision of ours. From a program perspective, we're going through a number of these community events, engagements to understand more from what you want to see and also to continue to solicit feedback. But from a program perspective, we're looking to launch the inception period in the fourth quarter or roughly around October this year. So that gives us a bit of time to really iron out and refine the program, also give the community time to adjust to some of the nuances that the new program will be able to introduce, and give us an opportunity to really work on this together. We've also taken a look at this commitment period, where the governors will be taking their stake that they want to be part of the governance program. And we've decided that a 90-day commitment period is probably the right amount of time that gives enough flexibility, but also enough commitments into the program, whereby the governors are able to really participate in the various different, voting and the activities that will go on. Without going into more of these, I think the one thing I'm going to close out here is that many of you might be thinking, okay, so we've got the participation rewards now, and we've got the governance rewards in the future. As we indicated in the paper, we are going to have an overlapping period. This is one of those gradual transitions that we want to incur, so that the entire community are able to go through that transition in the smoothest manner as possible. But eventually, the participation reward, as you know today, will be phased out in 2022 and completely replaced by governance program. And right now, I'm going to pass it to Massimo to go into the mechanics a little bit more, and also to explain the rewards mechanism in a little bit more detail. Massimo?
Thank you, Sean. Can you move to the next slide, please? Okay. Well, starting from the really great news, essentially the governors are going to take responsibility for all the most important funds in the foundation. At the end of last year, we made a full plan for essentially the decentralization of the whole foundation. And we have essentially created a few funds that serve different purposes for the growth of the ecosystem, and at the same time for decentralizing the holding of algos. So there is a fund for grants that already are fueling a lot of development, both at an infrastructure level and at a use case level in Algorand, and the governors are going to take control of this fund. Then there are a few other funds that are for partnership with different ecosystem players. So one is for essentially investors for innovation into innovative projects, and this is also a fund that will be that the governors will be entrusted with. And then we have a fund for social good, for research, for a partnership with universities and other institutions. That's also part of the future governors' responsibility. And then the governors are taking responsibilities also about the incentives of the blockchain, including the governors' rewards themselves. So we are putting a lot of trust on the governors on being on approaching the issue of their own rewards with the same responsibility that they are going to put into the other decision of theirs. The foundation has decided not to participate into the vote. The purpose for us is still having a super important role. We are not stepping back from our commitment towards the ecosystem. We will continue creating opportunities for the community and for the governors, essentially, to choose from different, very interesting and powerful opportunities we create. We are going to continue doing research. We are going to continue producing guidance and indications about our tokenomics and our incentives. We are going to continue essentially committing for our community, but we want that the governance moment and the moment the governors vote is actually something that does not see the foundation participate with their algos that usually we use to participate to consensus. So we will not be getting rewards. We will not be casting votes. What we're going to do is to indicate what is our preference in every vote. And we're going to give to the governors the possibilities, if they want, to opt at the beginning of every governance period to vote with the foundation. This is thought because we know that particularly at the beginning, not all governors will be able to devote the commitment that they would like to devote to the analysis of the different issues they will have to vote upon, you know. And we know our governors, we're seeing the questions that we are receiving. We know that our governors are concerned about having enough information and being able to commit enough to take good decisions. So we will give them the possibility to essentially delegate to the foundation automatically their vote. In the future, this is going to happen also for other players, you know, that we will make themselves public and potentially we will become possible delegates, you know. We are sure that at the beginning there will be the foundation in this role, but we are also sure that there will be other players then that will decide to become potential delegates. One very important thing, rewards are there for those who participate, for those who really vote, you know. So we expect the governors to cast a valid vote if they want to receive rewards. Otherwise, it's certainly more reasonable for them to delegate. We are a proof-of-stake blockchain. As a proof-of-stake blockchain, our motto, in a sense, is one algo, one committed algo, in this case, one vote. Essentially the same weight different participants has got in our consensus algorithm. This doesn't mean that we are not concerned about the risk, you know, that some large players exert an excessive weight, you know, in the voting process. That's, first of all, the reason why the foundation has decided not to use its algos to participate to votes. And we're also expecting that the other large players in the ecosystem will follow our path, you know, deciding what is the proportion of algos that they want to use for government, being transparent on where these algos are held. And we also expect these players to be happy to become delegates for the governors that want to delegate the votes to them. And can you, Sean, please move to the next slide? Here we have a slide which shows also a little bit visually what's going to be the mechanics of the participation to voting. We want that our governors show commitment and show skin in the game, show their eagerness to actually participate with the whole ecosystem to the consequences of their decisions. This is the reason why, in order to participate to governance, governors need to commit their algos for a period that initially will be 3 months, you know, quarterly governance periods. And the vote will be usually at the beginning of the period. And obviously, it's possible in the future there will be emergency votes, you know, because the future is unpredictable and we will be ready to everything, you know, but usually the planned vote will be at the beginning of every governance period. Then every governor will have to keep his committed algos until the end of the 3-month period in order to receive rewards. And also, very important, if he has not delegated his vote, he will have to express his vote in order to be able to receive rewards. So expressing your vote and keeping your algos in the blockchain for at least 3 months after your vote. Because obviously some of the votes will regard decisions whose consequences will go on for a longer period of time, but at least in these 3 months there will be the possibility for the market to assess the quality of the vote, and the governor needs to be there during this period. How are you going to decide to become governors and commit to be governors? There will be a 5-day period prior to every governance quarter when you will be able to declare the amount of algos that you want to commit to governance. And based on the total amount of rewards dedicated to that period, we will continue publishing them in advance, as we used to do with participation rewards, based essentially on the total amount of rewards for every period, divided essentially by the governors who have committed and the number of algos that these governors have committed. Everyone will be able, at the end of the committing 5 days, to know what is essentially his reward rate. The reward rate is going to be the same for everyone. Then the other important thing to remember is that we have decided, as Sean was basically saying, that we are not drastically moving away from participation rewards and into governance rewards. Participation rewards have always been intended by us as normal for the beginning of a project like ours, where everyone wanted to be part of the community and wanted to have an incentive just to basically find out about this new reality, this new great project. But we had always envisaged that once the blockchain would be much bigger, much more mature, much more developed, as we are now, it would have been time for our supporters, for our community, for the participants, to actually start committing to the future of the ecosystem explicitly and receive rewards only for verifiable commitment. So what we have planned to do, can you please, Sean, move me to the next slide, please? What we have planned to do is that participation rewards will continue to grow, as we have already indicated on our website. So we will keep our commitment of growing them until July 2021. From that moment on, we will stop increasing our participation rewards, and the amount that is paid basically for the July period will be the amount paid for all the other months until the end of the year. Then, as soon as possible, but we expect that to be, let's say, at the end of summer, the governance program will start, and from that moment on, there will be an additional important amount of rewards totally devoted to governors, and the typical increase that you expect in rewards, which is associated to the increase in market cap, will be totally earned by our governors. The plan is basically the one that you see in the picture, in the chart, that you can see in this slide. And then in 2022, when we expect the community to have fully transitioned from participation rewards to governance rewards, we expect the participation rewards to disappear over 2022 and be completely replaced by the governance these rewards. I think it's quite clear that in spite of having created an important commitment for our participants, we are also personally, as the foundation, committed to make the experience of becoming a governor as friendly as possible. That's the reason why there is a smooth transition between participation and governance rewards. This is the reason why we are now starting with a simple market mechanism. That we have our funder and other researchers in our community among the best experts of auctions. But we thought that at the beginning, a simpler and longer period for commitment was actually the right way to start. And also notice that the governors who will decide to leave the stage during a governance period, that means essentially withdrawing their algos after committing them, will not be penalized. They will lose the rewards, but there will be no slashing, say, about that. Some people ask me actually if in the future any penalties may be introduced. Well, let's say that in the near future, we are going to monitor how governance works, for sure, and together with the governors, we're going to adjust anything that needs to be adjusted. So after the end of this year, you don't have to ask this question only to me or Sean or anyone else in the foundation, but you have to ask the governors themselves, about which changes and adjustments we will do in the future. We will keep dynamic, and probably even more dynamic than the past, because we will have our entire community supporting us. I would say that now is probably the right moment to take your questions.
Brilliant. Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Massimo. We also have Shai on the call. Also, he might be able to answer some of these questions. So these are questions that you, the community, have submitted to us that weren't on the FAQs. So Sean, the first question to you is, when do I have to sign up for the program?
So we are in the, as I mentioned earlier, and Massimo indicated in the timeline as well, we're going through a process of designing and obviously soliciting additional feedback. The timing to sign up the program will very likely to be in the September timeframe. Just right in front of the inception period of October that we indicated earlier. So it will be in the September timeframe.
Perfect. And Sean, the second question is for you also. Is there a minimum or maximum number of governors?
It is free choice. Anyone is welcome to join, and anyone who is willing to commit the tokens and also vote on behalf of the community, anyone can join. So there's no minimum nor any maximum.
Great, thank you. Massimo, this is a question for you. Are the rewards you receive at the end of each governance quarter based on the algos you commit at the start of the quarter, or is it subject to change if you add more to your commitment throughout the quarter? Which leads to the question, can you add your commitment after your initial commitment?
Well, the first question has an easy answer, and the answer is no. Your rewards will be based on what you commit at the beginning, because what you commit at the beginning is the measure of your commitment to the governance, and so the measure over which your rewards are computed. About the possibility of adding additional algos, to the same wallet, maybe to be used for future governance, there are no economic reasons not to do that. So I may leave to Shai if there are any technical aspects in this.
No, you cannot add more. I mean, you can put as many algos as you want in the account, in the wallet, but only the ones that you committed to count, and that's it.
Perfect. So Sean, this is another question for you. If you grant, sorry, 1 second. If you grant a proxy vote to the foundation, does that count as a participatory vote for rewards? And can you grant a proxy to someone other than the foundation?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first of all, I want to repeat what we mentioned before, right? So the foundation will not be participating as one of the governors, right? So we have taken ourselves out in regards to that responsibility. Now, we will be facilitating the vote, and if you do delegate the vote as a governor towards the foundation, then certainly that will still count as a vote. So that answer is certainly yes to the first question. I think the latter part of the question is, can you grant the vote to or delegate the vote to someone other than the foundation? So yes, the answer is yes. But I think what we're planning right now is in the inception period and in the initial phases of running the governance program, the foundation will act as the delegation point to start off. And as we mature, and as the community continue to provide feedback in regards to how the program is running, we can certainly look at adding other stakeholders as part of the delegation path as well. So in the beginning, just the foundation, but we're certainly exploring the options of having more.
Let me add to that. We will make the foundation recommendation for voting public when the vote comes out, and anybody who wants to can vote with the foundation and vote for exactly those things that we recommend. Others can do the same. I mean, there will be no requirement to use only the foundation blessed mechanism to vote. Others can put on their own interfaces for governors to vote, and they can, whenever they want to, make vote with XYZ on their own infrastructure for voting. So that will be always available if anybody wants to take advantage of that. If we don't know whether there would be other bodies that want to do that, but technically that will always be possible.
Perfect. This is a question from Mark in the US, and Massimo, it's a question for you. Has the Dutch auction format been dropped? It looks like the return will simply be determined by the number of participants in each cohort.
Oh, that's a very good question. I partially covered this topic also when we were going through the slides. No, the Dutch auction idea has not been dropped because is a more complex mechanism than the one we have chosen. More complex economic mechanism, which has got some advantages. If you are in an auction, the moment you commit your algos, you know exactly which reward rate you may be getting, At the same time, you will have to monitor for a few hours the rapid development of bids and of different levels of rewards. What's going to happen at the beginning is that governors will commit, and all the governors will get the same rate of rewards, and we'll know that at the end of the period. In any case, obviously, the final level of rewards is not going to be different, if you do that through the auction or through a commitment period, as we are going to do. But the evolution of the mechanics, is something that, of course, we are still considering, having, as I said, some of the best experts of auctions in our community, starting from our founder.
Perfect. Thanks, Massimo. So this is a question from Jan in Germany. Sean, it's for you. In order to commit algos as a governor, does one simply need to maintain a certain balance in the algo wallet? And what is the minimum amount of algo to be delegated as a governor?
Okay, so let me do it in reverse. The minimum amount, there is no minimum amount. As long as you have an algo that you have in the balance and you register that as what you're committing to governance, then you can participate. If you remember from Massimo's slides earlier, one committed algo equals one vote. So that's basically, if you want a minimum, that is the minimum. Now, in regards to the certain balance, I think there's actually two parts of it. The maintaining a certain balance is essentially, I think we covered that in the earlier question. Whatever that you commit in the beginning of the period, that is the balance that you need to keep. Now, whether that has to be in the Algorand wallet or other partners, other wallet partners of ours that are also implementing the governance feature into their capability, that is entirely something that we're exploring. So it's not going to be limited to just the Algorand wallet. We will have other partners participating in this in regard as well. But the amount is something that are being committed in the beginning of the period, and that will be consistent in terms of how we're going to be monitoring the various different wallets that are committing to this.
Again, let me add at some point, a person as a governor would have to go to some interface. We will provide their own interface, and maybe others will too, and click some button to say, I commit that many algos to the next governor period.
Okay, thanks, Shai. Sean, this is from Elsie in the US. So large shareholders of a public company are made public. This gives the public some insight on the company's future directions. However, small shareholders maintain their privacy. Will the identity of any governors be disclosed? And if so, will this depend on the number of algos that they have staked?
That's a very good question. I certainly think that comparing this to a public companies, there are some similarities, but obviously in a decentralized world, there's some differences as well. Our initial thinking, and as we indicated in the paper, is that we will encourage large stakeholders to publicly announce what they're doing in that regard, in terms of committed algo, but it is certainly not a requirement. We are a public blockchain. To be a governor, this is free will. If you want to be a governor, if you want to help us, and all of us together dictates the direction in terms of where this ecosystem goes, then you become a governor. And to that, whether you're holding one algo or whether you're holding 1 million algo, to us, you are just as valuable as a governor. So in that regards, we're not going to have any mandate in regards to anyone disclosing that amount, but if they choose to, that is certainly welcome, I think, from us and also within the community as well.
Great, thanks, Sean. This is a question.
Again,
sorry.
just a second. Everything would be visible on the blockchain. So the addresses, the wallets that participate in governance, and how much they committed, this is all public information. Anybody can see that on the blockchain. Who owns that address? Of course, we don't know. But we will encourage our partners and the large algo holders to publicly say that they own that particular wallet of theirs.
Perfect. Thanks. Thanks, Shai. Sean, another question for you. This is from Ben in the US. Is it required or recommended that a person have any specific knowledge or skills to serve as a governor? I would like to participate, but I'm concerned that issues I would be asked to vote upon will be way over my head. So I guess it's a question about educating.
That's a great question. But by the way, I have a question for you, Johanna. Or were these questions directed to me specifically, or you just happened to assign them to me? But let me answer that question. So I think this is a question about a potential governor's familiarity with the topic at hand that might be voted upon. That's a great question. Look, I mean, the type of topics that I think Massimo shared some of that earlier in his slides could be wide-ranging. And certainly, we're not looking for all governors to be familiar with all of the topics and thereby, giving a educated vote. And that's also one of the reasons why we're having this notion of delegating your votes, right? So you can certainly follow along with, what the foundation may be deciding to do, and or other stakeholders as well, if they choose to. So the requirement is that this is a free will, right? If you want to participate and you're able to vote, with your knowledge and with your insight on a particular topic, please do so, right? But if it's not, and it's a topic that you're not familiar with, and you choose to delegate that's certainly an option as well. I think this is, like I said, this is not it is free will, and we just really want to encourage anyone who are willing and able to and to be able to participate. That's really the goal of what we're trying to drive here.
Thanks, John. Massimo, this is a question for you. Where would governance rewards come from when the 10 billion algos have been distributed?
Well, this is a wonderful question, because it puts us into something which is a long-term future for the history of blockchains. We have already planned rewards for until 2029. It's true that at some point the process of decentralization will make all the original 10 billion to be fully distributed. I think there are different ways to approach this question. One normal question is, will the role of the governance and the foundation be required the same way when all the algos have been distributed and the ecosystem has developed? We still don't know. We are here for there as well, to see potentially the full decentralization and the change of the role for everyone. The second possible answer is yes, there are sources that can allow to create incentives, and certainly transaction fees are one dominating source of incentives for the players. In its initial period, Algorand thought that this was not yet needed, and it was not at the beginning, but we are planning to now transform the transaction fees that will remain low and efficient as they are, but as a way actually to incentivize all the behaviors that actually make our blockchain even more efficient than it is now. And the third way to answer this question is to say, I do hope that by 2029, the governors will decide and not me,
Brilliant. Thanks, Massimo. This question is from Yared in Sweden. Are there any thoughts regarding one day giving rewards to the people or entities running the Algorand mainnet nodes?
Oh, that's another fantastic question.
That's a fantastic question, and I think actually the best person to answer that is probably Shai. Shai, would you like to take that one, please?
Sure, I can try to take this one. So thoughts, yes. Decisions, no. We are continuously evolving our plans for how to reward running nodes, and there are many things. I mean, as you might know, there are two types of nodes in the Algorand platform. The nodes that participate in the consensus protocol and a relay node that are more enablers. And for both type of nodes, we are thinking of ways to incentivize running them. That being said, we do not have concrete plans yet. Probably it would take us a few more years to come up with a plan. In the meantime, we rely on people that have interest in the platform being there to drive the participation.
Great, thanks, Shai. This question might have been answered, but this is from Joel in the US. How will the governance proposal address the potential challenge of decision being controlled by a small group of large algo holders? It's kind of been addressed, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has. Sorry.
Who are you asking?
It's my thoughts saying it. So, question here. I have stocks in Exodus. Will I be able to vote, or do I have to move my algo?
So we're still working through the plan on that. Shai, maybe you can explain a little bit about the user experience that we've been thinking about.
Okay, I'll get to that. But before that, if you have your own wallet that you control exclusively and add an Algorand address that it's only yours, you will be able to participate, at least in the inception period. I mean, the plans for the final things are not solid yet, so I can't speak to that. In terms of, so if you have an account in an exchange where the exchange control the wallet and it lets users use it, then you're going to have to take it with your exchange and see what kind of support they would offer. So this is for the inception period. In terms of the user interface, if you control your wallet, if it's an Algorand wallet, it will be built in. If it's a different type of wallet, we will work with some of our partners for them to offer similar functionality to the Algorand wallet.
Well, let me, if I can add something, we will commit in the next months for everyone who is, in a sense, in a custodial situation. Exchanges are an example, to have, for example, the exchanges allow our users to participate to governance. It's likely, or it's possible, that delegation will have to be a choice, but that's still something that we'll have to basically decided by the different exchanges. But we want participants to be able to get rewards in any case.
Perfect. Thanks, all of you. So Shai, this is a question for you. At the end of a quarter, can I choose to not receive the rewards yet? For tax purposes, the US considers staking rewards received as taxable income when they're received. So if I wanted, could I leave my rewards in a pool to accumulate until I choose to receive them at a later date?
The answer is yes. It's possible to delay it. The way it will work is the rewards will sit in some escrow account. At the end of every period, the governors of that period will become eligible to claiming these rewards, but they will have to claim it. So if you want to wait a couple of days or a couple of weeks or even a couple of months to claim your rewards, they will just be there sitting and waiting for you. Just don't forget to claim them. Otherwise, they'll sit there forever.
Okay. Thank you, Shai. Massimo, a question for you. Can the terms of the governance be altered at a later date through a vote of the governors?
Okay, can you repeat exactly?
Can the terms of the governance be altered at a later date through the vote of the governors?
Well, in a sense, yes. The governors decide about themselves. There are some areas, that have been defined. For example, what are the main funds today? What are the terms that the governors have to follow? But obviously, reforming the process is part of the role of the governors.
Perfect. Okay, so we're probably going to answer maybe 2 more questions. So the question might have already been answered, but there's kind of a second part of it. So Sean and Shai, will the Algorand wallet have a feature where by simply click on the button, one can opt to participate in governance? I think you've kind of addressed that. Will rolling over be automatically done for governors from No. Okay.
You have to explicitly participate in every period.
Yeah.
Sean, how will voting take place? We've already answered that. Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind. And then Massimo, what is the exact date current rewards finish in 2022?
Well, we don't have an exact date about that. We have basically decided everything about participation rewards for 2021, But about 2022, the situation is going to depend on what we call the inception period that Sean has already talked about. The sooner our community understand and engages with governance, the sooner we will want governance rewards to become the dominant part of our rewards. If any reform or changes have to be done, in that case, the disappearance of participation rewards will be slower. That's the only element of flexibility that we expect on that, and some element of flexibility on this is probably needed in such an important moment.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And that is all the questions so far. I want to actually just take this opportunity to thank Shai, Sean, and Massimo so much. There was a lot of work that went into this whole process. So thank you for sharing everything. Everybody, just also, this is recorded and we will be sharing this out on our community channels. Everybody that signed up for this all hands community call will be receiving our community newsletter, our Algo Note. And I think we should probably try and dedicate another session to this, in the coming months, probably not next month. And we will provide another opportunity. Did we not answer any questions that are not, if we haven't answered any of the questions that aren't on the FAQs, there is an opportunity to submit these questions on our FAQ page, which is still live. So please submit any questions that we haven't answered, and then we can potentially set up another session to answer those questions. So thank you, everybody.
Thanks to you.
Thank you.
This is an exciting time for us, and to be able to have so many of you joining in on the live stream. This is we really appreciate it. I know there's a lot of effort that all of you have come in and putting in the questions and really reading the papers and thinking about what it really means. We appreciate that, and we look to continue to work with you, putting the final touches on this together, going through the final decisions, launching it in the exception, and then obviously rolling that into the beginning of next year as well. So this is important times for us, and we certainly like to continue to do more of these activities, and be on the lookout for any announcements that we have. And then lastly, I know we're still doing this virtually, but hopefully as the world slowly turns back to normal, I think all of us will be really excited to meet many more of you in person, and be able to attend various different activities or engagements in person as much as we can. So we look forward to that. But certainly, thank you again, and have a good morning, good evening, wherever you are.
Yeah, thank you to all the participants. Thank you.
Thank you.